Yeah, I peeped us back on the old squat box, back on fractals, and how they've changed the world, Yeah, they did. They changed the world, man. I mean, the last video there, you've seen how it changed the technology of CGI, how to make, not just, I mean, that was lava, or molten metal splashing onto a bridge, but they totally changed how we could have huge swathes of grass, forests of trees, mountains, water, waterfalls, rain. All this was all done with CGI because of fractal mathematics. And that's the beauty of what we see in the movies. But it's not just about entertainment. It's not as simple as that. There has been medical advances done through being able to use fractal mathematics to perfect imaging. These huge gigantic machines that you go in, they get big gigantic magnets in them, there's a lot of fractal mathematics used in that to decipher the image and make it clear for us to view, And when it comes to the understanding of the circulatory system of the human body, that was fractals that did that as well, and helped us to understand how capillaries work and how they get smaller and smaller and smaller, just with tree branches, And there's also the understanding of the rhythms of the heart. A heartbeat isn't a bump, 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 bump. It's got a pattern to it. There's slightly weaker and stronger beats to different quadrants of the heart, and that was all worked out by fractal mathematics and understanding how they should work and where the arrhythmic beats come in. It's all worked out by fractal mathematics. It's worked in medicine, it's worked in movies, and now I'm going to show you why your whole understanding of the world and how you communicate and interact with that world through your technology, your most simple technology of your mobile phone, actually was derived and perfected by fractal mathematics. So just watch this, and if I just get a quick drink here so I can see my normal scrunchy fucking bar, motherfuckers, you know what I mean? Fractals! The power of the universe. If only physicists would fucking understand it and ever look at it that way, maybe we could make some leaps and bounds in understanding of physics. Sanjivar.
1990s, a Boston radio astronomer named Nathan Cohen used fractal mathematics to make a technological breakthrough in electronic communication. Cohen had a hobby. He was a ham radio operator, but his landlord had a rule against rigging antennas on the building.
I was at an astronomy conference in Hungary, and Dr. Mandelbrot was giving a talk about the large-scale structure of the universe, and reporting how using fractals was a very good way of understanding that kind of structure, which really wowed the entire group of astronomers. He showed several different fractals that I, in my own mind, looked at and said, oh, wouldn't it be funny if you made an antenna out of that shape? I wonder what it would do.
One of the first designs he tried was inspired by one of the 19th century monsters, the snowflake of Helga von Koch.
I thought back to the lecture and said, well, I've got a piece of wire. What happens if I bend it? After I bent the wire, I hooked it up to the cable and my ham radio, and I was quite surprised to see that it worked the first time out of the box. It worked very well, and I discovered that, much of a surprise to me, that I could actually make the antenna much smaller using the fractal design. So it was frankly an interesting way to beat a bad rap with the landlord.
Cohen's experiments soon led him to another discovery. Using a fractal design not only made antennas smaller, but enabled them to receive a much wider range of frequencies.
Using fractals, experimentally, I came up with a very wide-band antenna, and then I worked backwards and said, why is it working this way? What is it about nature that requires you to use the fractal to get there? The result of that work was a mathematical theorem that showed if you want to get something that works as an antenna over a very wide range of frequencies, you need to have self-similarity. It has to be fractal in its shape to make it work. Now that was an exact solution. It wasn't like, oh, here's a way of doing it, and there's a lot of other ways of doing it. It turned out mathematically, we were able to demonstrate that was the only technique you would use to get there.
Cohen made his discovery at a time when cell phone companies were facing a problem. They were offering new features to their customers, like Bluetooth, walkie-talkie, and Wi-Fi, but each of them ran on a separate frequency.
You need to be able to use all those different frequencies and have access to them without 10 stubby antennas sticking out at the same time. The alternative option is you can let your cell phone look like a porcupine, but most people don't want to carry around a porcupine.
Today, fractal antennas are used in tens of millions of cell phones and other wireless communication devices all over the world.
We're going to see over the next 10 to 15 to 20 years that you're going to have to use fractals because it's the only way to get cheaper cost and smaller size for all the complex telecommunication needs we're having.